Hi folks, my name's Adrian Crenshaw, and the talk you're about to see is called Of Flags, Frogs, and 4chan, OPSec versus Weaponized Autism. I'm Adrian Crenshaw, of course, and I run imgeek.com. I go around to various conferences and record them. I also sometimes post tutorials and articles, but anymore, most of them are videographer at various conferences and an online shit poster. I have an interest in InfoSec education. I don't know everything, so if I get something wrong, let me know. Some of the things I've been researching on this particular topic of how 4chan has screwed with people, the leads are a little bit nebulous. Once again, don't know everything. And I'm also a co-founder of DerbyCon. Here's a word from our sponsors, which you cannot actually hear because this thing does not appear to actually work. All right, let's take this out and play it off my speakers. That sucks. That's a little better. I didn't know frogs could scream like that. If you ever wonder why someone posts like, this is the start of that particular meme. And a lot of times it's followed along with autistic screeching. I'm not trying to be offensive to actual autistic people. I've already got some shit online about that. But this is the terminology people use. Here's the deal. This may not be the talk for you. This is the dubious disclaimer. This is the trigger warning. You rarely get trigger warnings from me, but here is one. I once gave a talk on Anonymous, I don't know, about 5 years ago to try to explain everything, in culture, the terminology and so forth. And the results I got from that was someone from the review board said, well, Mr. Crenshaw's talk was well researched. It was wholly inappropriate. Because these people use all sorts of racist, sexist, homophobic language. They don't give a damn on 4chan. They just say all sorts of stuff. And I'm going to get into some definitions here in a little bit on that. I'm not the one that came up with these terms. Don't give me crap. They're the ones that started calling it weaponized autism. So I'm using the in-culture terminology for this. A lot of things from Chan culture you might very well find offensive. Still, the useful terms to know what someone's referring to when they're talking about Anonymous and B and Poll and the various boards on 4chan and other chans for that matter, like 8chan, where people just say some pretty outlandish stuff. So obviously this talk is not about real autism, but it's the term they use for an obsessive focus. How many people have heard about Asperger's syndrome? Asperger's, the Doctor Who, of course, named that, and was named after. And some of the kids he was working with, he referred to as little professors, because they had like this obsessive focus. They might be a little socially awkward, or more than a little socially awkward, but there's obsessive focus on one particular topic, and they become expert in it. So he called them little professors. Well, in that way, some of the people in like 4chan and some of the other chans and anonymous boards and so forth have an obsessive focus on something to where they can put out laser concentration on achieving a task. And that is what they mean when they say weaponized autism. This is not intended to show examples of where people have been doxxed, and the intended purpose is to show how people have been doxxed and messed with by loosely organized groups online. It's not really intended to condemn or promote. Some of the people I'm actually glad got messed with. Some of them deserve to get messed with. But I'm still going to give some tips on what they could have done differently to not have the problem of cyber lynch mobs coming after them. Okay. One of the things you should know about Anonymous, sometimes news reporters get things wrong. They will refer to Anonymous or Poll as a particular group, as if it's really an organization. It's really not. The way Anonymous worked largely was someone said, hey, let's go do this, and enough people thought it was funny or be fun, they'd go do that particular task. Poll, much the same kind of thing. And, Anonymous and Poll are almost more of a meme than they are an actual group. No official leaders, no real official press releases. People just kind of get together, and it's kind of, a cyber lynch mob is a great way to actually put it. Like, a bunch of people get together, say, hey, you know what? It'd be funny if we go do this. Or we should go do this, and then people go do that. There are things people do that can be considered subgroups, I suppose. And the thing is, anyone can be anonymous. So, again, not really a group, more of a shared label or meme. This causes big leap attribution problems when someone says, oh, Anonymous did this, or Poll is that. Some subgroups of sorts. And if I was going to say those universal unifying principles of people who run on these chans is 1, do it for the lulz. 2, internet censorship is bad. 3, don't hit cats, although I've been told that that is not as big an issue as it once was. I mean, these are boards where you can make jokes about the Holocaust and no one bats an eye, but Lord help you if you hurt a cat. At least that was back in the day. They may have been a little bit less animal friendly at this point. Also, and this is probably the big unifying thing, down with unwarranted self-importance. USI. When I start talking about Shia LaBeouf here in a bit, unwarranted self-importance is part of his downfall. All this sounds silly, but I'll try to explain more. By the way, for those who don't know memes, everybody here they knew that Richard Dawkins came up with the term meme, right? Look it up. Things like over 9,000, The Game, lolcats, even Keck, which I'll talk about. Here's a little lexicon. Poll is the politically incorrect board on 4chan. Now, there's probably, if you go there, there's surely something that offends you. There probably are some few real racists there, but I think most of the people who are posting on poll aren't really seriously neo-Nazis and such. I think most of them are just edgelords. And an edgelord is basically someone who trolls others by expressing views that are edgy, just to offend people or try to get attention. B is the random board on 4chan, and basically it's trolls, trolling trolls, posting whatever funny images they like, posting funny stories to mess with people, just really weird stuff. One time, you ever know what Tumblr is? Tumblr decided one time they were going to do a raid on B. Raiding B and trying to troll B is a little bit like, again, pissing in an ocean of piss. You can't do it. So, and Tumblr was largely, the people raiding, composed of teenage girls with huge fandoms for Doctor Who and Supernatural. So they wouldn't troll 4chan, or try to. We retreated back, then 4chan came over and started posting gore pics, weird anime porn, everything on Tumblr, just to mess with people. There's actually, Internet Aristocrat did a really good video on the results of that particular incident. Okay, Pepe. Pepe is a cartoon frog. You saw that little militant frog I had at the very beginning of the slideshow? That was Pepe. He was originally created by, what was his name, Matthew Fuhrer, for a Boys Club cartoon strip. And he kind of became a meme on 4chan. Now, since then, some people have associated him with, like, white supremacist groups. Yeah, there might be people who do use it there, but no, Pepe is used by tons of different people for different reasons. It's kind of like, well, symbols. Symbols mean different things to different people. Like a swastika, if you see it in the West, you automatically think Nazism. However, if you see a swastika in India or Japan or someplace like that, it might mean Buddhism or some other symbol. I remember seeing an image long ago of a tribe. It was a basketball team composed of Native Americans, all with swastika symbols on them. Because apparently in their particular tribe, that meant something different. So Pepe means to people what it means to people. And that comes up with the Kekastanis. The Kekastanis is kind of a meme that's popped up in the last few months. Someone in poll suggested we need our own nation state. So what would we call it? Kekistan. And semi-separately, there was this British YouTuber named Sargon of Akkad who was suggesting that, well, he found out that the British census system could technically see internet shitposters as an ethnic group. So he kind of campaigned to get Kekistani listed as an ethnic group on their census. Kind of like some places apparently have Jedi as a religion on their census. So he started doing that, and then people took the idea and ran with it, and they started making up this whole religion around it, Kekism. And it just so happens that Kek, there's multiple origins. Well, first of all, my saying, I've heard that Kek is somehow the Korean version of LOL. I've also heard it's the version of LOL that's said by the Horde in World of Warcraft. So they ran up Kek, but Kek just so happens to be a goddess of chaos in Egyptian mythology. And I think actually it's not only a goddess, and sometimes it's a god depending on what form it is, male or female. But it gets really ornate. And it happens to coincide with Pepe the Frog, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff together. Once again, weaponized autism, don't hate on me, this is just the term they use. Basically, it's about having an obsessive personality, internet skills, and a lot of time in your mom's basement. So let's get a few cases of OPSec versus weaponized autism. This one is, I don't know how to pronounce this, Doc Nuka or Nephew Chan. Apparently, this particular gentleman posted, I've heard different versions of this, but even on something awful of 4chan, pictures of his semi-nude aunt as she was taking a shower. taken with his iPhone. So he puts these pictures out there, and Anonymous pulls EXIF GPS data. By default at the time, the iPhone would automatically geotag where the picture was taken. So hilarity ensues where they start demanding, please send us more pictures of your aunt, or we will tell her that her little nephew is a perv. Lessons learned? 1, hate to sound like I'm victim blaming, don't post nudes. I mean, I know I've made that mistake before, and I know tons of people out there looking for my nudes, but I admit that I made a mistake. Don't be a pervy nephew. That would help a whole lot. Scrub your metadata. There are tools out there for doing it. I don't know a good one off the top of my head. You can also turn off geotagging on your phone. Another example, and this is an example of 4chan doing good. A gentleman by the name of, well, I'm not sure about gentleman, Kenny Glenn, the cat abuser. Okay, on February 15th, 2009, Kenny Glenn posted 2 videos showing him and his brother's abuse of a cat named Dusty. They post this on YouTube under the name Glenn Spam 1. So first of all, we see that part of his name is in his online handle. He also apparently posted them to an account on NPC Films, and this account actually had a zip code associated with it. So, to find Glenn's social media in the area, they find all the Glens with social media in that area and compare and contrast photos. So they go through and look at the guy's social media and say, okay, we see this kind of carpet, we see this kind of trim, we see drums in the background, we see these things. So we think one is ill. We do facial comparisons to try to figure out who's who. And eventually they trace it down and figure out that the particular person who was abusing a cat in that video, in those videos, was him. So once they had an address, they started ordering pizzas and taxis to the address. And eventually Kenny was charged with animal abuse, and Dusty and another cat were rescued. So it has a happy ending. Not just for the lulz. Ken was party banned, as they say in the terminology of Chan. Okay, so what can we learn from this? First of all, don't abuse the kitties. They don't like that on 4chan. Also, don't use real zip codes. And maybe better masks, because that was kind of a pretty half-assed covering one's face. Don't do it on camera. Don't do things in identifiable areas, which really, if you want to take this talk down to its very basics, don't do things in identifiable areas, because almost all of this comes down to people with excessive time on their hands figuring things out. If you want to know more about this case, kennyglenn.net would be a good place to check it out. Next up, and this one I have to do more research for the next time I do this talk, because I'm thinking I can do multiple versions of this talk with different things that 4chan has done over the years. But one of them is bomb ISIS, because I asked on Twitter, what should I cover in this talk? And someone said, talk about the time that 4chan bombed ISIS. And then I started looking into it. I'm like, wait a second. They called it an airstrike more than once. Crap. Okay, so at least 2 times I could find, April 2016 and June 3 times. April 2016, June 2016, and February 2017. So what 4chan ends up doing is they find these rebel training videos or propaganda films, and they start looking at them for features. So identifiable landmarks, structures, whatever. And then what they'll do is they'll like break the map up into sections. You search that, I search that, you search that, I search that. And that's where the weaponized autism comes in. It's basically distributing the task amongst a bunch of people, searching through Google Earth and other map systems to find it. So let's see what they were able to find. Once they actually find this information, they pass it off to someone who can actually get the information to someone in, well, in this case, what I've been told is the Russian Ministry of Defense. I believe I also read about one incident where the Americans bombed based on this information. The thing is, tracing down and reading Chan logs is kind of difficult to figure out, all right, where's the important information and what's just complete useless garbage and someone shitposting. So they do things like this, where they'd find a video and then they'd look at the landmarks, they'd use Google Earth and try to figure out where exactly it is. And here's someone's summary of the one that happened in 2017. TFW, the neo-Nazi section of an American-based, Japanese-owned anime website has assembled an international/multicultural team of bored artists that provides airstrike targeting data on Syrian terrorists training centers to the Russian Ministry of Defense because they have nothing else to do on a Saturday night. We are officially entering snow crash levels of what the fuckery. Poll found a way. Now, like I said, that summary is not completely accurate. Most of the people I don't actually think are legitimate, like neo-Nazis and so forth, but they do like to troll the hell out of people and get a reaction. These are the kind of people who will go on media and try to convince, like, news media that this is a white power symbol, W, P, and they get people to believe it. I even saw one dumbass from the Bay Area, of course, who believed them and went with it, who's insecurity. I'm like, oh, come on, they're trolling the hell out of you. But they do that a lot. They did the same thing with, like, drinking milk. Well, so what lessons can we learn? One, don't be a terrorist. That would help. No one would be looking for you, hopefully. Don't have identifiable landmarks in the background. That'd be a good next step. After that, well, if you want more information on this, I have a bunch of links, and yeah, I'll probably tweet out an updated version of this slide deck later on, or if you really want to type these in after I post this video. Okay, next case we're going to talk about is Comrade Bike Lock. One of the classic things Pepe says, by the way, is either feels good or feels bad. In this case, it's definitely a feels bad. Okay, April 15th, 2017, there was a Patriots rally happening at the Civic Center Park in Berkeley. Well, but likely both sides, both the people who were kind of there because they liked free speech, or they liked Trump, or they disliked Trump, or they were there because they were leftist, or they were right wing. Most of the people were probably there peacefully. However, not everybody there necessarily came with completely peaceful intentions. One of those groups that showed up with not necessarily peaceful intentions was Antifa. Antifa, in theory, stands for anti-fascist. However, to a lot of the Antifa types, anybody to the right of Lenin is a fascist. So, take that with a huge freaking grain of salt. One of the Antifa types starts hitting people over the head with a bike lock. You ever seen those U-shaped bike locks? You can mess a person up with one of those. So, he started doing this, but in the modern day age of cell phones and everybody videoing everything, there was video of the event. And 4chan notices. This is one particular man who got hit over the head with a bike lock. He definitely does not look like he's feeling good in that particular picture. So anyway, 4chan starts combing through all these pictures and trying to figure out who this guy is. And they find pictures that are similar to the guy. And at one time the guy's mask falls off, and then they look up information about people who have been involved in similar protests, and they find this guy, start superimposing pictures over top of what the mask section looks like, and figured out that it appears to be Eric Clanton. And here's the funny thing about Eric Clanton. He apparently taught ethics at Diablo Valley College. And they also, while they were doing the various research on him, found his OkCupid profile. Of course, that's been taken down since, but nothing is truly ever deleted off the internet after a certain fashion. I mean, that's not 100% true, but let's look through his OkCupid profile. 6 things I could never do without. Notepad and pen. My bike. Well, there goes the bike lock. My chosen family. A bottle of booze to share. Coffee, a sturdy pair of shoes. I spent a lot of time thinking about revolution. Yeah, you have a good story to tell or a burning question or to chew on together. Do you need a reason? Anyway, they found all this information. I found other social media on him, and they, of course, tossing this information onto the cops. And eventually, Eric Clanton is arrested, and I believe he's been charged with, I don't remember the terminology they used, but assault with a deadly weapon that's not a firearm. Something along those particular lines. So, what can we learn from Comrade Bike Lock? 1, don't hit people just because you disagree with them or think you disagree with them. Better masks would have helped, because let's face it, those masks were pretty ill-formed, and some of the Antifa types will show up. All right, the Antifa uses what's known as black bloc tactics. The idea is everybody dresses up in black, they have a baklava on or whatever, so you can't tell who's who. So it makes this testimony much harder later on. The problem is a lot of these people still show some individualism, and if they like let the purple hair hang out the side of the baklava, that's probably gonna be a pretty good sign of which one's which. Oh, it wasn't the purple one; it was the blue-haired one. No, it was the green-haired one. They probably could do a little bit better on being more uniform. Not that I actually want to help these people, but that's one of the things that might lead them to be caught. Apparently, 4chan has even started up, or Paul has started up a database people and pictures from Antifa protests and riots to trace down people. Major in something else. I do like philosophy. I think philosophy is a useful pursuit. Don't know if I would get it as a major. And there's a lot more information on this individual out there on the internet. That brings me to my final case example. And I know I'm running through this a little bit fast. So I'll take a breath and slow down. And we will enjoy the second plague. For those who don't remember Sunday school, the second plague was the plague of frogs on Egypt, so that they could free the Israelites from Egypt. And I don't remember all the other plagues, but this one is appropriate for what happened to Shia LaBeouf. Okay, Shia LaBeouf, along with, and I always forget his name, it's terrible, Will Smith's son, Jaden Smith, had set up some kind of weird performance art project called He Will Not Divide Us. And the idea was they would set up a webcam at the Museum of the Moving Image in New York, and for like 4 years while Trump is in office, they're going to go into the cam and go, He will not divide us, He will not divide us, He will not divide us, He will not divide us. It's kind of some culty looking stuff. But that was the idea that Shia envisioned. However, of course, Paul finds out about this. And Paul can't help but mess with people. Alright, so obviously trolling ensues. And here's an example. Hi folks, Iron Geek here. Unfortunately, I screwed up my own talk. The podium microphone has this little mute switch, and while I bent down the microphone so you could listen to my audio from my laptop, I totally botched things and muted myself. So I am providing a link to the ShowMeCon version of this talk. I will hopefully do an expanded version of this talk at some future conferences, or maybe do extra stories. I'm not quite sure. Hope you enjoyed what you've seen so far, and check out the ShowMeCon version of this talk if you want to see it in its entirety. Sorry for the problems.